welcome to Preparing for the Unexpected. I'm your host, Alex Fullick, and as always, we like to talk about things related to business continuity, resilience, operational resilience, personal resilience, emergency management, anything that can help you, your organization, or your community prepare for, respond to, and overcome adverse situations. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please feel free. You can find me on LinkedIn. I am the only Alex Fullick there. I'm really easy to find, and I do respond to everything I get. Today, I'd like to welcome back a guest who's been on the show before to talk about Presilience. Hopefully, I can link a few of those at the end of the show so you can see some of those previous episodes. But I'd like to welcome back because he has a new book coming out called Presilience: How to Navigate Risk, Embrace Opportunity, and Build Resilience. I'd like to welcome back to the show Dr. Gavriel Schneider. Gav, welcome back.
Thanks, Alex. Wonderful to be back.
It's great to have you. It's been a while since the last time we chatted.
Time just disappears and morphs and becomes this real challenge to manage and capitalize on. But great to be back and glad to see that your podcast and your show is still going and that so many people have been able to be exposed to so many good ideas.
Yeah.
Kudos to you and kudos to your listeners. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you. And I'm sure they thank you as well. But I want to congratulate you on the book. It's coming up for release in a couple of months from the day of recording here. So congratulations on that. I know a lot of work goes into writing a book. So my first question to you is, how did it come about?
So realistically, Presilience in its current form has probably been in process ever since I started doing postgraduate academic research maybe 20 years ago. But really where it was coined and the concept evolved was when I was teaching the postgraduate program in the psychology of risk. I'd continually be asking our graduates and students, why are you here? Why are you on this program? What do you want to get out of it? And we've had, some of the most senior risk professionals in the Australasian environment as graduates of that program. And, it was interesting because a lot of times their frustrations had to do with the way humans interacted, with the reactive nature of the way most organizations handle things, or with straight out just blind spots and cognitive bias dominating decision making. So originally, we focused a lot on the idea of the intersection between risk and resilience. And the interesting piece for me there is that realistically, once a risk gets realized, that's when we need resilience. But during the resilience process, many more risks manifest. So it's an ecosystem. And we've tended in our corporate and organizational structuring to separate these functions. As you described in your intro, safety, security, risk, business continuity, emergency management. But in actual fact, there's for high performance. So we started with the notion of risk intelligence as the underpinning piece. And you'll note in the book, there's a lot of insight, guidance, structuring, and measurement tools for risk intelligence and the risk intelligence quotient, because you can't achieve presilience without risk intelligence. They're intersecting. But originally we thought, and this is going back to 2017 now, so it's 8 or 9 years of development to figure out what this thing is. Originally, we did think it was proactive resilience. But as we started rolling it out through our consulting practice and started educating others, because the initial gap we really wanted to fill was this shift to proactivity and also the shift to opportunity centrism, which seemed just absent in our vocational landscape. But quite early on, private sector, not-for-profit, whatever, you talk resilience, their mindset goes to react, respond, recover, and most of them are stuck in this, we'll deal with it when it happens, and hopefully it'll never happen.
Like the post phases.
Exactly right. And this idea that, well, if we've got let's say, we've done our business interruption assessment, we've got a business continuity plan, we've done our risk assessment, there's nothing more to do because we've done that stuff. And that for me leans quite heavily into this idea of risk theater, where we often pretend because we've got some artifacts that make us feel good that we're effectively managing risk, which is where the whole thing came together. And it's evolved tremendously over the last 5 years because we've trained, 40 or 50 Presilience practitioners. We've had them out there. And we've had, several cultural change and Presilience projects run in different sectors, the rail sector, federal government, the law enforcement. So through that process, we've learned a lot.
So what are the benefits of Presilience then? I know you described what it is, but so what are the benefits of either adapting it or learning about it, putting it into practice?
Excellent. So we'll talk a little bit later, I have no doubt, about the intersection between compliance, resilience, and presilience, and how they all need to come together to achieve high performance. But practically, there's a few real benefits that are there. Firstly, we're able to move away from risk theater, where we're spending all this money, time, and effort on things we think we have to do, but they're not actually addressing, number one, the things that would absolutely hurt us and stop us from being successful. And number two, capitalizing on the opportunities that are there that will also help us be successful. So practically, what we've done is build a framework to glue a whole bunch of core skills together that enable two things. And this is the nuts and bolts of it, right? The two things we want as an outcome are sustained high performance during business as usual, which, it's harder and harder to do in today's modern world. Things are changing so quickly. We're hyper connected. I don't think we've actually got over the COVID hangover still in terms of interpersonal communication and the way we deal with each other. We've seen the challenges that geopolitical and global issues bring domestically.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every country's felt some version of that. So practically, just being able to maintain sustained high performance in business as usual by itself is a very hard thing to achieve. But we want something else, right? We also want the ability to not just survive a disruption, but to thrive through disruption. And those are the two primary drivers that a presilience-based approach aims to achieve. Whereas we'll talk a bit later about, for compliance, for example, compliance doesn't necessarily strive for high performance in any state or form. It strives to make sure we can tick the box at the level that a regulator or a standard setting authority says we must. So we've got a lot of work to do to change the attitude. And I think this was interesting. I was taking one of our new staff members, she's just joined us as an intern, she's 20, through the basics of this the other day. And it was wonderful to see. She instantly got it and she went, oh, so it's a mindset. I'm like, it certainly starts with a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't have the mindset, we're always playing catch up and reacting,
Right.
or we're blind, right? Where we don't think bad stuff will happen, and then when it does, we are massively disrupted. So, realistically, what we've done is built a framework for high performance in the world we're in now, and the set of tools we need to thrive in the world that's coming for the next decade or so. Further than that, I don't think anyone can see.
Yeah. I like what you said there about risk theater. Yeah, I've worked with so many people. Oh, we've got a plan. We've got this, so we're in great shape. But all it is like you just finished saying, a tick box exercise. It's compliance. It is theater, and that also leads to your other point, the mindset. If it's a compliant exercise, then the right mindset to create resilience, operational, organizational, whichever category you want to move things into, isn't there, and you're never going to achieve it. Oh, there you are.
Hey, you're back.
So yeah,
We both got worried for a second there.
yeah, got you froze, and I think I froze too. I was like, okay, what happened?
Exactly. But
So
now's our test to see if we can thrive through disruption instead of just survive.
yes, exactly. So I'm going to ask my question again. Okay.
Perfect.
When I see the what you said about risk theater, I've worked with many people who have all these tick box exercises and have all these risk plans and business continuity plans and crisis management plans, and it's just compliance tick box exercise. So when you're looking at it from that point of view, you will never create, to me, you'll never create resilience, operational resilience, or organizational resilience, however you want to categorize things, because the right mindset, which is the other piece you just mentioned, isn't there.
Perfect. Exactly right. And this is the interesting thing. In the world we're in today, we have to acknowledge that we're in this really interesting stage that humans are not trained for. Realistically, we're operating on 500 or 600-year-old organizational hierarchical structural methodologies that really had their heyday during the Industrial Revolution. So we've got the hangover of this highly focused, efficiency-driven compliance mindset, which tends to focus on the outcome the organization wants as the primary driver, as a separate piece of what the individual work well in the world we're in now. We need alignment between those three, not servitude, basically. Otherwise, we just don't get high performance. But to your point, one of the other challenges we've had in many first world or developed countries is for a long time pre the internet age. And I think this is an important differentiator. And we see this now with organizations that are older than 30 years. Okay, those who are more than 100 years old really struggle with this stuff. Is the frameworks that they have in place have been built over decades, and they've been proven to be effective in an environment that had two things going for it. Things moved slowly, so it was relatively stable. Okay, so we had a lot of control, and equally, we had a fair amount of certainty because of how slow things moved. So in a world where we've got more control and certainty, structured hierarchy, really rigid scope, chain of command, span of control tends to work very well. In the world we're in now, which is this crazy mix for your listeners who like complex adaptive systems theory, it's this crazy mix of we've got simple systems, complicated systems, complex systems, and chaotic systems, all dependent on each other, all operating at the same time. And that's just within a small business, never mind societies. Mm-hmm. So we actually need to build ambidextrous capability where we can still manage the requirements of compliance, because the way I look at it is we're not going to do away with all these rules quick enough, nor should we, because that creates chaos. But equally, we can't be bound by thinking that something that was mandated 100 years ago works perfectly in the operating context now. Yeah. And your smile and nod tells me you've experienced that many times.
I can't help but get that, what is it, the wheels of government turn slowly? That jumped right into my head. And so that's why I was smiling. It's like, yeah, I know that one.
and to your point, we throw around these terms like we all need to be more agile. The piece that I've really found, and this I've tried to put across as much as I can in the book, is we know we must be, for example, agile. We know we must be resilient. The question is how? And I've tried to answer that question in the book by providing a suite of tools and methodology and an approach that shows you how to get the best out of compliance, make sure you are resilient. Okay, but one of the big frustrations we've been seeing, and this has come from several countries and meetings with many regulators at this stage, is that the focus on resilience is not working. Because the mindset of resilience is I'll deal with something tough when it happens. Mm-hmm. And it stops the idea of proactive prevention, proactive threat hunting, and proactive avoidance. In fact, I've had some nice, robust discussions with some business continuity professionals of late, where it's interesting because human nature is human nature, right? So if I spend all my time building plans for how to ensure something keeps working when something goes wrong, the only way I really validate myself is to actually see that plan work in practice. So part of the challenge we've got is we've siloed risk management, security, safety, business continuity, emergency response, etc. They're not integrated. So therefore, we have more vulnerabilities between the gaps, or we're duplicating, which slows us down and makes us inefficient. So practically, to get Presilience, to get that as an outcome, which once again, what are we looking for? Sustained high performance during BAU and thriving through disruption. To get that, it's actually a combination of compliance, resilience, and Presilience. And it's really interesting because that should sit in the risk appetite and tolerance space and then should cascade down. And if we've had really good results with boards where we actually work with them and we try to get them to articulate, well, imagine there's a pie of 100%. How much of that pie are you going to put into compliance? How much are you going to put into resilience? And what are you going to have left over for resilience? And note the way I said that, what have you got left over? Because the vast majority of organizations are just not mature enough to have Presilience as the focus yet. Mm-hmm. We're getting there. There are a few that are starting to bubble. But again, I have a theory, and this is a working theory, that we need to be shifting the dial to longer-term thinking, solutions that work not just for us and our small team or just for our organization. And we need to be applying the core skills that make humans fulfilled and enable us to be the best versions of ourselves. Because if we fast forward even just a few years, knowledge is going to be, which generative AI tool do I use? Solving knowledge and integrating knowledge will all work through which AI tool or plugin am I using. What's going to be critically important is our ability as humans to relate that knowledge to each other, apply that knowledge in practice, and make sure that knowledge gets refined and improved. Those are things that Gen AI can't do yet. And for the next decade, it's absolutely critical that humans develop. If we haven't built those skills, they have to be developed, because we'll fall behind.
Yeah.
Or people will keep having mental health problems, which is what we're seeing happening now.
Yes, quite a bit. Yeah. On that note, we've come to the end of our first segment. We are talking with Dr. Gavriel Schneider today about his new book being released April 1st, Presilience, How to Navigate Risk, Embrace Opportunity, and Build Resilience. And we will be right back. If you liked that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave me a message and let me know your thoughts. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.